to discuss tonight. And if there's something that I want to get out early and often, this is a conversation, right? If you know us, we can talk. We can especially talk about TGS.
100%.
But the thing that I want to make sure that we leave with tonight is everybody in this community's questions answered. The other thing that I want to get out very, very quickly is a very, 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 very serious apology. If there's something that TK and I have not taken lightly throughout now 7 years that we've been here, that this thing belongs to us. We never lost sight of the fact that, like, y'all's names are on the walls of this place. So, in quick aside, but when we started TGS, a thing that we noticed really early was that as much as our membership team would give tours of the club, we would also see members of the community talking about and bringing people here as much as what we could. And as a small, under-resourced team, that was something so special and important to us. We know who really runs this thing, and it's always been the community. We are deeply sorry that for as proud as many people have been for what this is, that last week, or however long this has been going on, was not a reflection of the thing that you've been telling your friends and family about. Truthfully, we feel like we failed you. Later today, we're going to give you a timeline of events, and you'll see in that timeline that part of what was exposed publicly last week has actually been going on for a little while. We never intended to have this sort of discussion have to happen in the way that it did. But we're here, and the only thing that we can do is to move forward, to talk to you about why we started this thing in the first place. And by the way, you're going to hear much more from TK in a second. This is my...
Yeah, I know how these go.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I told you I'd talk. We started this journey 10 years ago this week. And if you would have talked to 10 years ago us, we never believed that any bit of what's been accomplished here was possible. Our goal then was, hey, we want to have a community.
Yep.
And folks would ask us questions about what that meant, and we would say very fake things like people will hang out and meet each other.
It'll be great.
Truly. We went from TGS is going to have a movie theater and a gym and a hotel to, like, TGS is going to have an event space and a restaurant, bar, and workspace. It was a long journey. But over the course of the 7 years, again, that we've been operating here, this community has really formed to become a true force. We collectively have become a thing. We appreciate you for it. What transpired a week and a half ago, right? It was, as you saw in the headlines of business. We had an opportunity. Trust me, as entrepreneurs, at many times in this journey, if solo was the route, it might have felt good to take it, right? But we started this thing as a partnership. We've always relied on somebody or something to make it happen. We saw an opportunity to continue to accelerate what this vision was about from the beginning, to build more gathering spots, to make sure that as you traveled, there were more places for you to be able to go. Unfortunately, we're not on a trajectory at the exact moment that we can say that we're proud of. We're going to get there, though. And part of getting there is having conversations like tonight. So as you'll see, there is no decor. There is nothing but Ryan and TK.
Yep.
And we are here to talk openly and transparently about what's been going on and to answer your questions. Again, I could talk all night about this thing, but there's 2 mics here, and I encourage you to be unfiltered here. Ask us the things that you want to know. We will give you the best and most succinct answers that we can. If it's something that we don't know, we're going to tell you that we don't know it. If If it's something that we're not involved in, we're going to tell you that too. But if it's something that we can give you an answer on in true TGS fashion, we're going to talk about it. So there is no other agenda tonight except for this conversation. There are folks that are online. Hi, I should have greeted everybody online. Thank you to everybody that's watching this everywhere. I did have one other kind of mental note that I wanted to share before we jumped into the questions. There are about 200 people that are on our team that work with us at TGS. And I've stood on this stage many years, and I've told this community how important they are to us because, look, this has for a long time not been us, right? To operate any club, it takes a lot of people. We have folks on our team, yes, in Atlanta, but in DC and in LA, and folks that work in the connected cities across the country. We've had this conversation with them today, but we both appreciate them and also apologize to them for what is a very unsettling, traumatic series of events. So know that, again, part of what this healing journey is our team having to heal along with us as we move forward. Some of them are here and some are watching. But if you see a member of the Gathering Spot team, please give them a shout. They've endured more than they should have, coming to work, and we're in the community business. So as things come up, people directly engage them. And a lot of times they haven't had the immediate answers for the community. So again, if you see somebody on the TGS team, if you have the time, give them a shout and tell them that you appreciate what they're bringing to this collective table. So, did I forget anything?
No, I think you covered it.
We don't have notes here, y'all. This is an unscripted thing. We don't do notes and prepared remarks, and there's no screened questions. So, we're going to stand here and we're going to talk to the community. So, again, 2 mics. Don't be shy. Tell us who you are and give us your question. If you're online, please do the same. I can see it here, and I'll answer the questions as they come up.
Let's do it. Shoot the J.
Hello, what's up?
How you
My
doing?
name is Shanti Das. I am one of the founding members of the Gathering Spot. And first, I just want to say it's good to see y'all brothers on stage together because that is why I joined this community. What y'all did for Silence the Shame, my mental health nonprofit, I couldn't have done in any other city and with any other folks and community. And so I'm right here where I want to be. And so my question is, I know that Greenwood acquired the Gathering Spot, and so how are we going to be clear on making sure that this doesn't happen a year from now, right? The same scenario. Do you guys still have equity within it? Are you just employees? Because, no disrespect, but I'm here because of this community. This is unmatched. There's no other city that could do this. And I've been to a lot of cities. I used to work in the music business. I've been around a lot of communities. But what you all did, no one had ever done in a business space for young Black folks, and y'all can give it up for that. So I just want to know, how do we ensure that we're not in the same space? Because even just seeing some of the stuff that went out from a PR perspective, it didn't even sound like you all. And so I just want to make sure and ensure that everything is great, and that, you know, whatever we can do, if we need to form an advisory committee or some sort of, you know, community board on behalf of you all so that you have a collective support group moving forward, we're here to do that.
So to answer directly the first question of, are we just employees? Do we have equity? The answer is yes. Ryan and I have equity in Greenwood. That was part of the deal. We've always had equity in Greenwood. And the way that we don't end up back here a year from now ultimately boils down to the people. And actually, I want to take a step back. I wanted to say thank you all for coming out tonight. And first and foremost, that the only reason that I am here tonight is because of the community and everyone who stood up on my behalf. I've said it before and I'll say it again, every member and supporter of this community, you guys are dream makers. This was just an idea that Ryan had, that he emailed me about, and together we worked on it and turned it into what we hoped would become the Gathering Spot. But if Shanti Das and the hundreds of other people who signed up in that first year didn't do that, it wouldn't have existed for then thousands more to become members and to then expand to the other clubs. But ultimately, this community is run by the membership community. That's the reason I'm back, because Greenwood and the whole world saw over this past week that what we've always said is that we're proud to be stewards and help to direct the ship, but this ship is self-controlled. Like, we are all free people in association. This is true community in action. So the ultimate thing that preserves TGS is itself. It's y'all, it's the members. And it is clear to everyone who has eyes that when you violate the spirit and ethos of this community, that the community will not be there to be taken advantage of. And no community, no business, no enterprise.
So good evening. CJ Stewart with Leeds Center for Youth. And so one of the things that I really pride myself on with the club being a member is actually bringing in white people to the space so that they can see how awesome it is. Because context matters. You know, for us, we use baseball to help black boys overcome crime, poverty, and racism. What pissed me off was when, I forget the gentleman's name, the white gentleman was now in charge. And I don't know how true that was, whatever. But I felt like, you can't tell me it's not other black people in this city that if it was going to be a replacement, that it could have been somebody that was black. So for me, you know, that was the thing that just really pissed me off. So I just want to understand, like, what was the decision even to have him to come here? Because that's the thing that just really bothered me.
This is one of these questions where, like, there's part of it that I can answer and part of it that I can't. So we were not involved in the hiring decision for anybody at Greenwood, right? So I can't give you the answer to that piece of the puzzle. What I can tell you is that as entrepreneurs, and for those that are entrepreneurs, I think you'll relate to this, part of us doing this work is that we have to operate it, right? I mean, this is the only professional endeavor TK and I have ever had. Well, TK had a job for like 6 months.
2.5 years.
I've never had a job. So, like, all I know, right? All I know is this. So, to be just very blunt with you, having a job, respectfully, right, and with respect to everyone that relates to just having a job, that isn't what this is. So, who's in charge? It's Ryan and TK. If that changes, you will be notified. Full stop. If that changes, you will be notified. And there's one thing, there's been a lot of things said online about, well, will Ryan and TK come up and front for somebody else?
Hell no.
No. This thing is important to us in a way that, like, this is not a traditional startup story, right? Like, as soon as the values of what we were trying to accomplish here change, I won't be here. And I don't think he will be either. I know him okay. So it just, we've got a lot of work to do. And I'll say too, as a broader company, the questions around diversity, equity, and inclusion at a black-owned company are totally fair to be asked and need to be answered. Right, so although I am not the person that can give you the answer to that specific question, I'm not here telling you that it is a question that shouldn't be asked. Because I believe that as any company that we engage with, we should be asking questions, and we do. Been on this stage, asking questions of all types of folks about what they do, why they do it, where their commitment to X, Y, and Z is. We don't have a different expectation here. So, I'm trying to answer the question as best I can, but right now, on whatever today is, July 25th, every day that ends in Y, I don't know. Ryan and TK are the folks that are independently operating the gathering spot.
What's up, guys? My name is Free. I go by Free the Vision. My question is just specifically, whose decision, whether individually or collectively, was it to get rid of TK, and what is the scope of their authority as it pertains to the direction of the gathering spot moving forward?
That's very fair.
It was a fair question. It doesn't matter.
My role was eliminated by the CEO of Greenwood. That's what occurred. Yeah. He
It's
called
part of
me.
a larger reduction in force
Yeah.
that happened at the company. And the second part of your question is, to what extent, it's getting dark in here.
Yeah, and to what extent is there authority right now as it pertains to the direction and future of the gathering spot?
Part of our agreement, what I was just trying to say to CJ a second ago, part of our agreement, and you think of it as Jordan to Nike, WhatsApp to Meta, Pixar to Disney. We're going to operate as independent companies. We're an independent entity inside of the larger family of brands. There's more companies here. And any day-to-day engagement at the club and in management of the club will come from us. So that is very important to us, I'm sure, as you can imagine, as entrepreneurs. And the agreement that we have that stated for everybody that came out in one form or another over the last couple of days is that TGS is independently operated.
Yeah.
So I don't imagine, though, to TK's point, that we will find ourselves in a situation. Now, look, if we do something, I can barely see you, I'm sorry. If we do something like anybody here at the company that is harmful to the business, well, we don't deserve to be here any more than anybody else, right? But I don't think that there are any plans to have us as leadership away from the business anytime soon. If you have a follow-up or like you want clarification, like please ask.
So what does that look like as far as so I've seen mixed messaging though about a settled dispute. I don't care about the details of your money. What I'm more so asking about, seriously, I think that that's unnecessary and I think that that convolutes the actual conversation. But when it comes down to this settled dispute, my question ultimately is that I understand that you guys are in a position of direction right now, but is this a waiting period to make things seem settled? You get what I mean? Because we acted fast. And I think that it's intentional that we acted fast because we wanted a fast result. So I think that we all kind of have a different entry point maybe to the gathering spot. But in this moment, let me ask it like this. Whose decision was it for TK to come back? And why did that decision happen?
We mutually agreed for TK to come back.
Okay.
Right, and because this community, to your point, was very vocal.
Yeah.
We mutually came together. Because when this started, if you remember the announcement last year, right, it was a picture of 4 of us as partners, right? What the process has been over the last week, and as a sidebar, this is important to do. In our community, when you have folks that stand up and when they see conflict and stand in, transparently, that had been something that had not happened, right? Again, this has been going on for 6+ months. But there is a person here tonight that did do that, Kim Blackwell, who's here in the front row. And what Kim did, that was like a mini applause for something that deserves more than that. Because what Kim did is in our tradition. She called us collectively and reminded us of why we started the respective businesses that we did and got us into a conversation to figure out what happens next. You framed the question well, the community acted and there was a response. That is true.
100%.
That happened, right? But this wasn't for us a rush to try to figure something out, to try to avoid, that wasn't what was going on. We've had some tough conversations as folks in business with one another that Kim has spent way too many hours being a part of. But the goal there was to try to preserve the thing that we care about very deeply, which is this community.
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
I just want to add, so the decision to come back was mutual. It was really born by the community. And if I'm being 100% honest, it was not a decision that I immediately said yes to. It was one that I spoke to Ryan a few times. I spoke with Ryan and Kim. I spoke to Kim alone. I spoke to Ryan again. But ultimately, the reason I came back is because I believe this. I've always held out hope that one day the Gathering Spot would become a leading institution in our community. And I believe an institution, the ultimate definition of it is that it stands the test of time. And I didn't want it to be that I was part of the reason that that institution didn't stand the test of time, because the community made it clear that they would not come back if I was not back. So the decision was mine, sparked by the love that the community shared that they had for me publicly and forcefully. And I can't tell you guys thank you enough for that.
We'll do a couple more here, and there's folks online I want to make sure we get to.
So good evening, Ryan and TK. My name is Melissa George. I'm a foundation member. And my question is really around transparency of communication. When we got the email last year about the acquisition of Greenwood, it really was presented to us in a way that appeared to be a merger as opposed to an acquisition. And even a couple of the emails that we've received lately have seemed like they have not come from you. As many times as I've heard you speak, Ryan, as the face of TGS, whether that's in video or whether it's in email, you have a voice. You have a very specific cadence to your messaging. And so some of the messaging that we've received later, as of late, has not seemed like it has come from you. And so my two-part question is, what type of access have you had to communicating with the members? Because it seems as if you have not had communication and somebody has been putting messaging out on your behalf, and it doesn't sound like you, it doesn't appear that it has come from you. And what can we expect going forward? Because when information is given and it's transparent, it really allows us to make informed decisions for ourselves. And so that is my question.
I appreciate your question. We didn't write those emails.
Thank you.
Moving forward, this is one of the things for me that is like one of the hardest parts about this, because we've taken a lot of pride over the years that if we said it, you know that we said it. This is a show and prove situation, right? And we're going to overemphasize doing where this thing started, right? If you've been around TGS for a long time, you know that there were, for many years, it was hard to come up here and not see us, like physically see us. So if you get a communication and it's important, just like when COVID hit, that didn't happen, because it did. Those messages were not all of them, things that we participated in or not participated in fully. That's not something that, again, I'm going to stand here and say is acceptable, but it is something that, if, like, moving forward, it will come. The messages will be coming from us, and we will communicate otherwise. If that changes in any way, you'll know that change has occurred.
Thank you.
Greetings, my name is Pauline Jeanette. I'm a relatively new member. I joined in May, referred by someone in New York. And just a quick two-point question. So in terms of strategic planning, and you talked about the partnership alliance that you wanted to pursue with Greenwood, in light of the latest disruption in your establishment of yourself as independent companies, have you thought about other strategic alliances as an independent company? I was talking to one of the servers, and they said they weren't worried because they knew your Rolodex. You had plenty of celebrities, DC, LA. Have you thought about Tyler Perry, Oprah? Just reaching out and making sure that in the future you have some people in your back pocket in case another storm comes up. And then part two, I saw some of the allegations about the earnings and fluctuations and discrepancy. Are you working with an accredited audit company or an accredited finance company to just make sure that they help you so that you're not in that situation again?
Aspects of the litigation are things that we can't dive specifically into. What I can tell you with strong confidence is that this business operated successfully for 7 years. And this is one place where it's like, I've got to be very direct about my brother. when we started this thing, y'all, it was like people that we knew that invested in this. There is no venture capital for real. Very small institutional capital that's in this. And even the institutional capital, we know them. We take extreme pride in being correct and accurate about what essentially has been run like a family operation for forever. So I can't speak to everything that you've read, seen, in this, that, or the other place. But I can tell you very directly, nobody is worried, and this has also been shared publicly by the broader business. That isn't a part of what's going on here. So things are said in war that I think are upon time, things that I don't think were intended to land the way that you received it. But if you, on behalf of my brother here, who has had that responsibility for this business, I can't log into our bank account. And this man could become me on like paper, like has everything that I've ever, he could wake up tomorrow and decide to be Ryan Wilson and have all the stuff to do it. I have extreme confidence beyond that, right? And like we don't, and I made this sound like friends and family. There's no slouches that invested in TGS. Like this isn't, we didn't just get by to get by. If you understand our cap table, you don't stumble into the folks that invested into this business, despite them being family and friends. The work that TK did for years to literally keep the lights on is not in question. So I appreciate it. There's been a lot of folks sending me CPAs and accountants and telling me they're friend. And like, I imagine that all of those folks are amazing, right? But you can't get to the place that we have achieved as a business and not be able to do basic chart of accounts. So you know, and that's not directed at you. It's just to folks that have that question. This is another very kind of specific moment in this conversation. This ain't that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
That's just, it feels weird to have to say things like that, to be honest with y'all, because our integrity, right, who we are as business folks, all this stuff can come and go, right? I mean, we got told a long time ago, you rent your titles. And I believe that. I'm renting this title. He is too. Shoot, we don't even know what TK's title is. We've been,
a lot of questions on the
there's
internet.
a lot of questions on what his title is. but at the end of the day, right, how we operate as folks in business, those are the things that live way beyond whatever the immediate endeavor is. Nobody's playing with that. Mr. Sampson.
All right, gentlemen, it's good to see you. Little context, just macro congratulations for navigating this part of the Job experience. And that's just a part of our maturity as founders, entrepreneurs, black men, women. I remember walking through this place before, it was under construction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? Still hadn't got the CO. And what you built, the productization of culture is an incredibly, difficult thing to do, and you all accomplished that. So I have a two-part question. Capital-intensive business, pandemic, new locations, and I understand that some things you may not say, can say, maybe stuff to think about. Did you have to sell to Greenwood because you needed the capital? Or could you have sustained the business? Maybe, since we're a culture and it resides with the members, maybe we had to pay a little bit more if we want to maintain, the value of what we have. We've been locked in that 185, thank you.
Well, you're in dangerous waters right now.
Yeah,
sure.
But what I'm saying is, if you want to maintain it, it's easier to obtain than maintain, right? So, did you have to sell to Greenwood? And then number two, is there a space in the future that you could divest from Greenwood and truly be independent again from cap tables? Is there a place for that, and where we could become, a truly member invested community. I know there's a lot of emotion, the membership has emotion tied to it, but as members, we're not on the cap table, so we're not really invested. Is there an opportunity in the future where you might consider divesting, or even as a wholly owned subsidiary, carving out a piece of it? Because ultimately we got to keep this together, We got to get to the next election through y'all as well, so we got to get past the distractions.
The most immediate project that we're pursuing right now is healing. I can't tell you in earnest that we are divesting, right? Our goal is to finish what we started, right? In building more clubs and to doing it within the context that we're in right now. The first part of your question is, did we have to, right? No, we didn't have to sell the business. But as I was trying to outline in the beginning of this thing, sincerely, we always had the ambition of seeing this thing mature and grow. From that tour, we weren't talking about just Atlanta. We'd be here all night, but I'll just offer this quickly. And you know this world as much as anybody in here. When your company starts to scale as a Black-owned business, right, you find yourself at a really interesting point where you're no longer super small, right, but you're not super big. And when you're right there kind of in the middle, you start looking around and saying, well, at scale, who has the capacity to acquire this asset that's Black? And when you do that research, unfortunately, that list is not incredibly long. We like to say the same names, Oprah, Tyler Perry, right? But like at the end of the day, there's actually not an amazingly long list of people that can acquire Black-owned businesses at scale. And so then a lot of times we find ourselves in a different conversation. Wow, I can't believe such and such just sold and is no longer Black-owned. There are a couple facts that have to be put on the table here tonight. Greenwood, as a company, is majority Black-owned. That is a fact. There's been a lot said about who owns what, but the majority of the cap table of Greenwood is owned by Black folks. What was exciting for us is to be able to think about how do you grow the business at scale, but to do it within the context of working with Black folks and a company that had the opportunity to do the same thing to grow with us. Otherwise, if I'm being frank, because we raised capital and those folks want to return on that investment at some point, I could have found myself on stage having a conversation with y'all about how the gathering spot was moving from being Black-owned to not. And those options didn't seem plentiful, right? So in business, there's risk everywhere. Neither one of us regret anything. This journey is what it is, right? But we endeavored to do something, and what was true about the press releases last year, we wanted to work with some Black folks, with our very Black business, with black people, to try to figure out if we could grow it. And I stand here today, still with some Black folks.
Room full of Black people.
At a majority Black-owned business, trying to figure out how to grow and scale the thing. So I can't break any news about how we're thinking about the future of the company, but I will say that at this point, and this is a conversation we've had previously, your point around how do more people participate in this, I will say that that's not something that's totally lost within inside of the organization. So I don't have something I can give to you tonight, but I do know that that is not something that is not of interest for the business. Thank you. I'm not doing any of these online questions. I'm sorry, but I will. But we're going to do it.
What's up, everybody? My name is Eldridge, entrepreneur, activist, and built our business here. So we became a family. There was a lot of trust. But like family, people marry in. May 12, 2022, the gathering spot married Greenwood. And they family were ghetto. You know what I'm saying? And look, I love y'all, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of the issue that came through, yes, TK leaving, that was a big deal, and we were angry. But what came out of all of that was a lot of information about Greenwood we did not know. Yeah. Greenwood was started in 2020 with the blood money of George Floyd. Greenwood was started pulling on the heartstrings of Black people, telling us it's time to build a Black bank, build our money together, rebuild Greenwood. It was a lot of emotion from our people, and Greenwood Bank leveraged all of that and got us to sign up and put our money on there. My question to y'all, were y'all knowledgeable of the deceptive messaging that were being brought to us from Greenwood? And when I say deceptive, now it's out that they were a fintech company and they're leveraging this bank because the technology wasn't there. But when it came out, we didn't see that. I saw a commercial with Ambassador Andrew Young saying this is time for us to come together. I saw a commercial with Killer Mike saying this is the blackest bank in the country. Nothing about Coastal Community Bank was out. Did y'all know it? If so, how do we reconcile moving forward with that distrust? And if you didn't know it, how did they hide it?
We did know that Greenwood was a fintech company.
Yeah.
That was very clear to us. Look.
In fact, that was the first town hall we did. That was one of the questions we answered after the deal.
We did know that, and I'm no fintech expert, but I did understand the relationship between Greenwood and Coastal Community, and how I still understand that relationship, right, was giving the business the capacity to still do the service, like to still administer the services that we wanted to administer. And we had very specific conversations about, well, why Coastal Community and not this or that bank, right? And we'd be here a long time, right? But there were legitimate answers provided to that process, to how that specific partner was selected. But the same thing I said about TGS is the same thing that I will say about Greenwood. We always understood that to make any business successful, you can have a mission statement and a bumper sticker, right? But eventually, like you've got to work diligently every single day to make sure that that mission and those values are realized.
Right.
So our goal in joining the organization and to have this partnership was to say, look, there's an opportunity, and I will say right now, there's an opportunity for us as a community, if there are concerns, to have an open conversation about what those concerns are, and for us to talk about collectively what and how we want to see the business operate in order to better reflect our values. Nobody here is I mean, I said this to somebody before we started. A lot of us, I'm a Falcons fan, right?
Right.
We lose a lot.
Hold on.
Have lost, thank you. Part of the relationship that I have with the team, though, and I mean, it's nowhere near what this bond is an open conversation about what I expect from the Falcons this season. I'm sitting here right now. We need to win a Super Bowl. And I have a bunch of suggestions and comments about how we should win that Super Bowl and what I expect from the Falcons as a fan. I don't look at this as being anything different. What expectations does this community have for what we are going to do in business? Do those things line up with the values that we've stated? If not, we have to, as an organization, stand up, answer the question authentically, and then figure out what we're going to do from there. So if we miss the mark in the eyes of the community, collectively, here at TGS or within Greenwood, we don't have a different expectation of folks to just don't do what. I'll be on Twitter sometime in the next several weeks, and I don't encourage necessarily this form, but or whatever it's called, X or whatever you're doing now. Engaged. And I appreciate the engagement. There's with TGS, y'all, we've never had this idea that the community is supposed to just shut up and take it. We just do what we want to do, and then y'all just take whatever it is that we say. I don't believe that now, and I won't be at an organization if that's the expectation for the community anywhere within it.
Right.
So I don't think that's where we are. I think where we are absolutely as a company is a period of very much listening, and we need to be responsive. If we're not responsive, I expect for you to stand right back there and ask that question again. And if we cannot get the answer to the question right, I don't have a different expectation for the community at that point. I don't think TK does either.
So, as leadership of this community, a lot of people left the gathering spot as well as Greenwood.
Yeah.
Are you asking them to come back to both organizations?
I'm not asking them to do anything right now. I'm here to answer their questions. Of course, I told you I ain't done nothing else in my life.
Well, I'm asking now.
No, I'm answering your question. when there is a harm in any relationship, you don't have a harm and then immediately turn around and say, I ain't harm you, come on back in here. That is not what we are standing here to do tonight. This is not a recovery plan. Of course, I would love for people to come back to TGS. I would love for people to come back to the business in general. But we as an organization have a responsibility to show and prove who and what we are. So I believe that over time, when we do that, folks will come back. If we do it the right way. If we don't do it the right way, we're in the community business. The community will go over there or over there.
Wow.
So
We got to show and prove.
it's a show and prove. This is a show and prove moment. I've had all types of partners and everybody call, hey, look, what should I do? I would love for you to come back. I didn't build this to have you not be a part of it.
Well, I want to say this. I appreciate y'all for creating this forum, but I would love for the owners of Greenwood to do the same thing so they can start to show and prove.
And that is
More than fair.
that is a fair question to ask, right? No, but again, yes. I'm sure this is recorded, and they'll see it.
Brandon Butler, CEO of Butter ATL, founding member. First of all, to piggyback off what Eldridge said, yeah, I mean, that was my first question is I don't think anybody from Greenwood is actually here. That might be by design, it might be for other reasons, but my first question is, if they're not here, we have not heard from them. I worked in crisis PR at Edelman for years, the biggest PR firm in the world. The comms around this whole thing were terrible. Even the post that went up yesterday about TK coming back has been taken down now. My question is, what value is Greenwood going to provide to TGS and the members going forward? I have been to every TGS location. I've been to DC, I've been to LA. They're obviously newer, so they're gonna have other elements, but at the same time, I had an event here last week, and I'm gonna be honest, the service was terrible. The experience of the black group that I brought here, they complained and they literally told me if it wasn't black owned and it wasn't me, they would have left. So my question is, if Greenwood is getting involved and they're gonna stay as partners, I know you all are independent, but like what can we expect as tangible, noticeable value immediately to help reconcile this going in that direction? Because again, nobody's here to speak on their behalf, but what should TGS members expect besides free Greenwood accounts and whatever else? Like, how is Greenwood gonna invest, not just in TGS, but in Atlanta specifically? I've been in new clubs, they are very nice, they're new design, they got new paint up, they got new stuff, but like, what is Greenwood going to do for the members here in Atlanta that help build this thing and help start it to go forward? And again, tangible, somewhat immediate things as well.
To the point about the event last week, I apologize for that. Yeah. Look,
We can't put that on nobody else.
I can't put that on anybody except for
Us.
me. He was away.
Well, last week, I don't count for me.
I got to ride solo on that one, and we'll
Just
figure
in
that
12
out.
days.
The goal from the beginning for us, right? We've been in this room before, talked a lot about access to capital. We've talked a lot about like how do we better resource ourselves, and so the goal on the Greenwood side of the business is to build a suite of services that help to accomplish those goals, like that goal. That's why that was legitimately exciting for us. Right, because having stood here for a long time and talked to a lot of big institutions saying, please, can you come talk to the membership? We were like, well, what would it be like if we could do that ourselves? So we have to do that work, right? I'd love to, over time, I'd love to be having a different conversation as a business. Well, yes, you're a member here, but what is it like to have your business account and loan that business money and talk about your mortgage and talk about investing and talk about credit cards? Like, how do we look at the financial health of who you are and deliver there? That was part of what was exciting here, because again, as we looked at our future, that what I just said wasn't going to be a part of it. We would have been acquired by some hospitality group that would have said the gathering spot is tables and chairs. Keep doing that. But this gives us a different opportunity, and that is what we have to go in. Like, that has to happen though, right? So a lot of the things that I just said and stepped don't exist at the moment. They need to. So that is, over time, absolutely what Greenwood can provide to this community. And if we fall short of that, be very transparent in having that conversation with you, that we are not executing upon that part of the plan, and we'll talk about what happens from there.
And just one follow-up, would you all be open to having a joint conversation with Greenwood? Again, I just don't want us to get into like these siloed conversations. I think at a certain point, members need to hear the same thing at the same time from everybody. Would you all be open, again, this is just you all side of it, obviously, but would you all be open to a joint town hall with the leadership of Greenwood to address some of these questions?
The leadership of Greenwood would have been here tonight upon invitation, in fairness to them. Yeah. So I believe the answer, I don't want to speak on their behalf, I believe the answer to that question is yes. And the Greenwood team would be standing here with us if that was the conversation that we were trying to have. Cool. This was a different conversation. I think that, again, this isn't a one and done. We're not going to have this and say never again. Sure, maybe that's the part two. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Rashida. I took a couple notes. First, I want to thank you, TK, for coming back and like really standing strong. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank all the members who didn't cancel their membership and showed up tonight. And for the members who canceled, because that put the heat on Greenwood to have you come back. So it's like a double entendre.
Thankful for
And
all
I
the
want to
members.
thank Black Twitter, because they came through. So it's clear to me that Greenwood did this to TGS, black to black, right? Black founded. It wasn't a good situation at all, obviously. So I have a two-part question. My first is your staff. If we look at them tonight or over the past week, they are checked out. Yeah. They are sad. And I'm really interested in what you guys plan to do to really give life back to your staff, because they're a reflection of you. We don't get to see you guys every day, but we see them all the time. So I'd really love to understand what you all are planning to do with the staff to keep them invested in TGS. And my second question is, like, white people should also be invited in this space. I understand that this is Black founded, but we want to share our Black excellence. And so I want to understand, with everything that happened, how are you guys making sure that the message to the community and beyond is an inviting space for all people and not just like it's only for Black people?
I work backwards. You take the team part.
Okay.
Look, I'm gonna keep it like, the gathering spot was established to make sure that Black folks specifically were not tolerated in a space but celebrated within it.
Absolutely.
If you just heard me say that you're not welcome in that last sentence, you didn't listen to me. What I said was that we are being very specific about who we are speaking to here. If you've been here long enough, there is a little bit of everybody that spends time here. But we've never engaged in the project of where's everybody else? Because frankly, like, when you go everywhere else, they ain't worried about where we are.
Right.
So I do believe that any community is better when we are diverse and inclusive and have a variety of viewpoints available. But you will never see from TGS this idea that we are not sufficient if we do not have everybody else present. If you like what we're doing here, you like the music and the art and the overall vibes, you are more than welcome to participate in the gathering spot experience. The same way, I am technically more than welcome to go experience any country club around this town. But the difference is, when they were thinking about who to build the country club for, they weren't thinking about me. And when I was thinking about the gathering spot, if I'm being honest with you, I wasn't thinking about them. So, and if you just heard me saying that you're not welcome, again, you did not listen. But there's a way that we approach what this thing is. Any and all can come participate in the gathering spot experience, but the fundamentals are the fundamentals. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to talk to you about it the way that I just did. I appreciate your question about our team, and because it's a very difficult question, I'm going to give it to you.
That's fair. Now, I think very much so in the same vein that we're doing this with the membership community and with one another, we have to do the same sessions with the team. Like, this was a very abnormal situation that we all went through. And if you are not concerned or have that in the back of your mind, I don't know how you could be a human. I'm standing in front of you today right now, also still processing everything that occurred. So I can only imagine those on our team who don't have as much visibility into everything that's going on. But that is the fundamental work that we have to do as leaders, which is to get everyone back together and reading and singing from the same sheet of music. And also making sure that they're properly incentivized for the future growth of this business that we should all be hoping and working towards growing and making the platform more robust and having community be in more places. Because that is the thing that has always inspired us. And I think that is the thing that has attracted everyone to be a part of the team, is because they heard the vision and they wanted to be a part of building that vision each and every day. And when we see things that reflect that the vision isn't in place anymore, of course you're not going to be as locked in anymore. So as leadership, Greenwood leadership, all of us as leadership, we have to go to the rest of our team and prove to them that we are back with the same vision that attracted them to this institution to begin with. And that's when we'll start to see better performance. But I don't think I can bring a magic wand and say, hey, TK came back to business, make sure we drop the fries off in 37 seconds. There's a real humanity into each and every work. No one works for Ryan and TK. We all work together each day in service of the membership community. And I think as long as we make sure that fundamental cardinal virtue is there, I think we will get back to being there and being checked in and making sure that we present a membership experience that everyone can be proud of.
Show and prove. Our team's been with us a long time. If there's an advantage that we have in this space, our average tenure is long. We got a lot of, this business has been here 7 years. We got a lot of 4, 5, 6, even 8 years at this point. So we got to have, it's tough conversations. But there's nothing actually more important to us. We love y'all, but we can't do for y'all if our team is not good. So our 4 o'clock meeting today was with our team. Our 7 o'clock meeting is with y'all. But the 4 o'clock was with the team, because I'm not going to talk to y'all before I talk to them.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm going to be as short and sweet as I can be. I've been a member here.
No rush. We here all day, baby.
No, but I've been a proud member here for probably since 2018, 2019. A fellow board member of mine introduced me to the gathering spot. I fell in love. It's in alignment with how I want my dollars spent, and it's in alignment with the businesses that I want to support locally, nationally, globally. I've been able to lead 3 nonprofits as a member of the Gathering Spot. My last organization is now doing business in Southern Africa. I would love to see a Gathering Spot in Southern Africa.
Amen.
So,
Me too.
but I don't want this wonderful gem that you all have, this diamond you all have, to get lost in the expansion behind the dollar. And I understand you all have to grow. I understand you all have to be viable. Literally, the last major event I came to here was the 1619 project. So I was literally in a whiplash mode when I saw some white dude in my email telling me, and this is I'm gonna be overseeing, and this person is gone. That can't happen again. I promise you that can't happen again, because it's triggering, it's traumatizing, it's so disrespectful to you and your vision and what you all really did an amazing job of giving birth to. I'm a mother of 2 Black sons. I can't be a part of this, and I want you all to win, but I'm not trying to hear how Greenwood is trying to run some kind of a fiefdom. That's not what I'm here for. I maintain my membership here consistently, and if I can serve as one small voice that can help usher you all to be successful in your expansion without losing the spirit of what you all started, that's what I'm here for. I loved what Ms. Shanti Das said, if there's an advisory, something or whatever you all need, because I stayed with you all because you all are the face of Black entrepreneurship that I think the rest of the world and country and state and county needs to be modeling after. So whatever we can do to support you. But the communications around this leadership transition was all wrong, and I felt terrible about really thinking for the first time about not being a member anymore. And so, and it was the people. I love you, TK. I love you, Ryan. But I came up here in person to say to Brittany and to RJ and everybody that I'm used to seeing, how are you doing? Because that's what it's about. FinTech, lovely, but it's people. You all are doing an amazing job of mobilizing Black people around economic mobility and entrepreneurial success. So please stay true to that, however we can help you. But just know I'll be gone if somebody that I don't really think is respecting the vision will maintain it.
We're going to be right with you out the door.
We appreciate you, and sincerely, we're with you. We're lying. I don't either. Transparently, y'all. If it all, I say this to our team all the time. If it all ended tomorrow, I would be proud of what we accomplished. I could call it, right? And tell my kids we got 3 yearbooks worth of third ones out. We got, that was it.
It is. It is
free,
up. It is up.
We got 3 yearbooks worth of stuff. At this stage of the game for us, if we're not in alignment with what this needs to be, we can hold hands and walk out together. I'm not this thing is too important, right, as an institution at this point to be playing around with it. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you if we don't execute on what we said we were going to do. And I hope that what I'm saying here is true of how everyone feels about whatever it is that you're going to get up tomorrow and do. If it's not in alignment with how you feel, what you want to accomplish, then don't do it. I've had the privilege through this of meeting everybody. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and say, I don't know who to call to try to find a job. Respectfully, this is not, we do this because we genuinely care about it. That changes in any way, I'm going to call I don't know, I don't have a resume, I've never had a job. So, it's a true thing.
Probably the terrible.
But I'll make one. I'm going to send it out to somebody here that does that and say, hey, look. So, we're not negotiating about that aspect of this at all. And that's super, super clear, right? For everybody. And I hope it's clear to y'all. I offer what I just said there as respectfully. I'm not trying to, but we're not waking up tomorrow chasing employment, right? What this means to us is way beyond that. So.
Thank you.
I'm coming.
Let's go right side.
Hey.
Hello, gents. How are you?
Good evening.
Hey.
My name is Erin White, and I am a foundational member. And to piggyback on what was just said and what other people said, how is this going to be codified? How are we going to know that it won't change, right? So as you all move forward, and I have a couple questions. So as you all move forward, how do we know that the values, the integrity, what we all built together will be codified and Greenwood as the controlling entity will not change it? Is it documented? Is it agreed upon? That's the first question.
Okay.
It's documented, it's agreed upon, and we won't be here.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, just want to make sure, just asking detailed questions. The other thing is, and me not being from Atlanta and having a privilege of all these lovely people from Atlanta that know how things go, when I've been here since 2009, this is the first place I've ever lived where I have heard, and I've lived all over the world in different places. This is the first time that a person's name has come up and is universally someone has something negative to say about it. Universally. And that is astounding to me. And I'm talking about Paul Judge. So if you knew, and y'all know I love y'all, but if you knew about this, if you knew about it, why did we engage with this individual? That's the second question.
You want to take it?
Second?
You want me to take it?
I guess. I start. You could hop in. We've been involved with Paul Judge since 2019.
Okay.
We acquired the A3C Music Festival with him, operated with him. He's been a minor investor in TGS since a little bit before the A3C investment as well. So he was not an unknown entity to us. And the reason the deal occurred with him is the same reason Ryan stated earlier. It's because it's not about any one individual actor. It's about, this is an opportunity to be able to grow the business even further, to maybe have the business be international, to add more staff, to do more training, to really fulfill the vision. So hearing comments about someone and then the tangible reality of being able to do a deal that allows the business to grow some more is a risk. That and understand, every investment there's an ebb and flow. There's investment dollars and control in the entity that is provided in return for that. But if the goal was to just make sure that it was steady state and nothing changed and Ryan and I kept the job forever, we would have never had to build any other spots. We would have just built this one and stayed here. But we have a fidelity to the vision that was originally there, which is we want to create community for Black people everywhere possible. So if there's a door that I can walk through and you said, yo, there's a chance you might slip, there's a chance you might get hit, but this is a door that will allow you the opportunity to chase your dream. As an entrepreneur, every door I've ever walked through is about taking that risk-adjusted step of saying, I believe this route is an opportunity to grow. So that was a calculus that was taken.
And look, at the end of the day, the gathering spot, evidenced by us all being here tonight, is bigger than TK, it's bigger than Ryan, it's bigger than the other Ryan, it's bigger than Paul, right? Like, it's big, like this thing is bigger than the people that lead it in some way, shape, or form. And I think, as evidenced by us being here, this thing does not belong in terms of its success to us. Like, we're seeing it play out with what TGS is about. And like, I've always known that's what, like, people thought we were putting community up on the walls because it was fun and like a cool thing to say. We're in the community business. And we always knew that, like, if we were out of alignment with what we said this thing was going to be about, the community would engage with us on it.
And y'all talk to the team, so y'all know, we tell them all the time, there's no contracts here. Everyone is a member of this club freely. And all it takes is 30 days to leave.
We need them 30, though. Hold on.
Well, one of the things I am certainly grateful for is that the values of this community, which you all have built, withstood a bad actor, even though we're still with them. So I'm very happy about that what you all have built has sustained that.
What we have built all together, collectively.
What we have built, right. So when you all say that you're here and you're operating, are you vested in the long-term growth? What does that mean? Is there a runway for that? Is there a year? Is that 3 to 5 years? What does that look like for you? And do you know? You may not know.
Yes, invested in a long-term growth. Like, I'll speak for both of us here. The goal for the gathering spot, and the goal of as a person trying to create something that's impactful, is that it can stand the test of time. And while we would be proud if the journey ended today or tomorrow, the reason we're here is because we believe, the reason we did the deal is because we believe there's an opportunity for more in this journey. So that I don't have there's no secret deal. We're not here for 6 months or a year or any predetermined time. We're here as long as I hope everyone is at any career or job, as long as it aligns with our values and it gives us an opportunity to work towards things that are impactful.
Good. I'm glad, because I know that's a question about how long y'all are around, right? So that's why I wanted to ask it. And lastly, I canceled my membership immediately because of you, and because I stand by y'all. So I believe in acting swiftly to make an impact. So we can talk about it later. I know the question was asked if someone's interested in reclamation, what that looks like. So you don't need to answer it now, but I just want to put that on the table. Thank you.
I'll just briefly repeat my answer from earlier there. We would love for anybody that has been a part of this community to continue to be a part of it and to work with us to continue to make this thing a thing. We understand that we are in a period of healing.
Yes.
So while that is my hope, my ambition, the thing that I will talk to the Lord about tonight, the thing that I'm asking is for folks just to continue to engage in the way that we are, to give us the opportunity to show and prove what the business is about. I'm confident in the long run, if we do that the right way, figure it out.
Thank you.
But our whole membership team is here. Hey, back.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
Khadija Robinson, DC founding member, now Atlanta resident. So I have a couple of questions. I'll keep them pretty short. Now that we know the tangible reality of who we married with respect to Paul Judge, and we know that he is as especially heinous as people said he was previously, what are y'all gonna do about that? What are y'all gonna do about the relationship that y'all currently maintain with this person who has been a bad actor in our community and has targeted Black founders and startups for years?
One of the conversations that I had before we came up here tonight was with Paul, because as you can imagine, we are on our own healing journey. And surprisingly, we did not talk about the business or this town hall at all. We just talked as two humans that haven't had as much engagement as probably should have, right, over the last year. The recommendation that I would make to him and anybody is that that very real feeling has to be discussed. We have to go through the same process that we are going through as founders, right? And what my job is in that is to facilitate every single opportunity possible to make that conversation happen.
So where he at?
Yeah. I know.
Where's Ryan Glover?
So I said this earlier. We didn't invite them here specifically, right? Like we did not invite them. So please do not go out and tell everybody they ain't show up. And specifically, both of them absolutely would have attended and been here, right? We specifically asked, given the context of this conversation, and that we were talking specifically about TGS, a business that is independently operating, that we had the opportunity to address our community.
Do you have any knowledge of why Ryan Glover and Paul Judge chose to speak to the media but have not yet spoken to the Gathering Spot or Greenwood communities?
A great question. It's a great question and a fair question. I can't answer that. I can't answer that question for you.
So you don't have any knowledge of why they've done that?
Why they spoke to the media?
Why they chose to speak to the media but not us?
I can't tell you why they did that. I don't have an answer there. I'm not trying to sound like a apology. I don't know why.
To your knowledge, do they have any planned meetings or any forums to actually address the community and not
no, I don't believe
Atlanta
they do.
Journal-Constitution?
I don't believe that they do, and part of that is because I've specifically asked for them not to. Right. So given this request that's coming from the community, I'm very, look, if y'all got some Greenwood questions, I would love to bring the folks that can better answer those questions seriously to answer them.
So when is that going to happen?
As soon as we can get it scheduled. I don't want to speak for them. As soon as we can get it scheduled. I don't think that there's an unwillingness to engage here. But look, I'm gonna call balls and strikes all night long here. I've said some things here that are contrary to what's been online. One of those things that's coming out in this conversation that I want to be very clear on: we did not invite them to this conversation. And as two free people, they could have walked in here anyway. So they respected what we asked of them to not participate in this discussion, but I don't want that held up as they will not participate in any future discussion. Most of my conversations with Ryan this week, Ryan Glover, have been about actually getting exactly to the point that you're talking about. And I know, I have it on pretty good authority here, he would love to be able to have the conversation with the community in the appropriate form. And I believe it's something that we can get scheduled. Sincerely.
We can or we will?
You asking me to schedule? You're asking me to schedule people?
Is there anybody here who can get it docketed?
No. This is all recorded. Look, I will with real intensity move to make sure that setting and opportunity for us to collectively talk happens. I can't stand here on stage and tell you that any other person absolutely is going to participate how I'm imagining that should happen. So I'm not going to write checks that I can't cash. I believe, though, that is something that can get done. We'll work to make that happen.
I have a lot of questions, but I'm just going to ask one more. You went to law school, so you understand the legal process. You filed a lawsuit, two actually, but the second of which made some very, very serious allegations of fraud. And my own lawyer brain, reading those filings, can even potentially see some criminal charges coming out of that based on mail-in wire fraud, et cetera, on behalf of Ryan Glover and Paul Judge. So with that, with the allegations that you made in those court documents, do you still feel that the gathering spot and you personally are mission aligned with Greenwood and the people that run it?
We are working to make sure, look, I'm not going to get up here and tell you that last week you saw us in a bitter dispute, and then we met one time with Kim, talked for a second, and then came out of that meeting as if none of that history was real. It is real and relevant, and we are absolutely working through it, right? And those are tough conversations, some of the hardest that I've had professionally ever. As it relates to the first part, right, and we started here tonight, I told you there were some things that I could not venture into specifically. The litigation itself, I can't, right? But what I can tell you is that standing here today, we are not litigating. That is a true statement. We have resolved, we've come together through a very intense process, and we have resolved the disputes. But beyond that, all I can offer is that during the course of, this is a long time. People think that this was, a week. We have been, unfortunately, it's been months, right? So there's a lot to unpack over the course of those months. I wish I could give you well, you're a lawyer. I do this, but I wish I could give you more on that. But I think given that you know how these things work, I don't have more to share there. I can tell you that we're resolved. And for the sake of what this was, we needed to get there sooner rather than later, because all of what TGS was and is, and Greenwood, was at stake.
I respect that you can't necessarily comment on the legal proceedings, but
mission alignment.
The
So
real-
answer the
Oh, the
mission
mission
alignment
alignment. I missed the
question.
mission
do you believe right now that you, the gathering spot, and all these black people in this room are mission aligned with Ryan Glover, Paul Judge, and the people that run Greenwood? The white C-suite executives and the white board and the white bank behind Greenwood.
We believe that we're committed to get to alignment. That is the whole process of what's going on here. We were not aligned, hence the lawsuits and young TK being asked to leave. But like, we're back here, and the only reason we came back was because we have to the question about like, how is it codified that this will be, and this, you know why there's lawsuits? Because people breach stuff that's in writing all the time. So at the end of the day, they could say that I'm the king of England in a lawsuit, and it don't matter. The ultimate trump card is us, and y'all as a membership community. Like that is, so if the mission isn't, if 2 weeks from now, or whatever time period anyone feels is sufficient, we have not proven to be mission aligned all the way through, then as we've been saying, I expect everyone to vote with their feet.
Yeah.
And I would do the same. And like that, like we can ask this. I'm not a lawyer, man. We can ask this question 50 different ways about like how the only guarantee in this world is what we decide to do in the moment. It's the only thing I can guarantee.
And we have some work to do. I mean, look, again, we have some work to do. That's the truth. We have some work to do. No, we have not seen eye to eye on every single aspect of this business. We have not seen eye to eye on the execution of this business. And I'm not going to stand here and say that I'm even ashamed about that. If you've been in the game, like, yeah, like, I mostly agree with him. But like, we are trying our best because of what this means to be in alignment. And if we find ourselves in a place where we absolutely are not and cannot be, then that box gets checked. But that's not where we are right now. We're at a spot right now trying to figure out how to make sure that we are in alignment, because we obviously have not been. I mean, I just...
And to clarify myself, like, I don't feel like that question is inappropriate. That question is very valid. And I'll speak for myself. I would not be standing in front of you right now if there weren't strong commitments on both sides to the fact that this place is important, and because it is important, we need to make sure it's mission aligned so it can stay alive. Because the ego in me never wants to be back in here after the thing I just went through. As a person.
I appreciate y'all. I hope that if/when we realize there is not mission alignment, we get more than the ChatGPT social media posts for the blacks and minorities in the room, because that wasn't a good look for any of the Greenwood people that's gonna be watching this.
It's fair. We ain't right there.
We didn't write that, no.
We ain't right there.
Hello, I am Tamika Chambers. I am a founding and I guess foundation member, and at this point, family and friend to this circle. And my question, I've been standing here about 30 minutes. My question has changed about 4 or 5 times, but I'll come to the space of, as a person who is heavily involved in acquisition and mergers, you're saying in some parts of the conversation, acquisition. Other parts of the conversation, you're saying a partnership. By definition, the acquisition is that someone purchased you and their rules become what you are guided under. With that, as being a separate solitude independent entity, do you have a separate strategy plan and a seat at the decision-making table of the people who acquired you, so that when the decision to remove someone that is a true foundation to your part of the organization resounds? So do you have an emeritus seat in the decision-making, or do you have a strategic plan that when they come to a decision that they want to make a decision about some performance or a seat on your side of your independent table, that you are aware of it, if not part of the decision of it?
We appreciate the question. We'll be at the board meeting this week. That's the most succinct way I can answer the question.
Okay.
So,
second question. I've heard you all both say that if this doesn't work and the alignment is not achieved, that you're willing to leave this. Have you created a space to maintain your intellectual property so that if it doesn't work under your acquired state, that you can go across the street and recreate what you blood, sweat, and teared over for years in a different capacity without it being a legal competition of your ownership, your intellectual property, and all of us to say, stop writing a check here, but we're going over here, so bring them checks over here?
just family business, just being honest with y'all, I'm not going to do this again. I mean, it's like that's not of interest to us.
So fair
necessarily.
that you said you're not going to do it again. However, you've told us multiple times that we are a community. So you can choose not to. However, if you leave us the blueprint, somebody else can.
That's a different question. And like, hypothetically, I don't know, I feel even weird. Like,
So we can say hypothetically, I'm going to use Ann because I am the board member that dragged her and all of the things that she do across the globe into this building on a regular basis.
Let's do it.
So if you say no, I'm done. However, your gathering spot advisory board and community own the blueprint, and Ann has left me in the situation where she left as the leader but left me the blueprint, and I took it to another collective and we recreated it.
yeah, that process that you're talking about, I mean, could happen right now outside of this context. Somebody could go across the street. I mean, and they are. I mean, there's people trying to bite off the gathering spot for.
No, play off the gathering spot and abide by. So there's a difference. When you say the gathering spot definition of community is the way that you've established it, multiple other country clubs and black entities that I visit in DC and actually now in Dubai are doing what you're doing, trying to do here, and in LA. It's not the gathering spot. But if you leave the gathering spot, that book that you all wrote 10 years ago in them dorm rooms, if you have that intellectual property as a property of your advisory and say that I'm done because they're not willing to align and I'm done because it's not meeting my needs as a leader, we walk out of here. Greenwood has a blank something up there. You are trademark copyrighted into this and can take it over there. As somebody in this room has left me, you can do that. And I'm trying to understand, as you're creating the space at the table in your decisions, what is your strategic plan for if they don't align? How do I maintain what's true to mine? I don't have to do it. You have kids and legacy that can end up with this.
I understand your question sincerely. The project that we are working on, though, is to make this work, right? And sincerely, as people, long conversations about this. We don't endeavor to like do this again. What we built here, I know, you know, for a lot of folks that are unfamiliar with it, is tables and chairs and building. Like we know what this thing has been, and like so I can't even fully get with the idea that like some person I could give you the blueprint right now. I don't think that what we've created here together could be executed, even if I handed you that thing. And I can just just sincerely, we need to make and preserve what is a black institution in TGS. If that can't happen for whatever reason, I can tell you just as a human, I'm not going to go do it again. All of my friends since I've graduated from college then had 4, 5, 6, 10 jobs.
So fair assessment.
I'm not.
It's just
This is it. This is what I do.
If you all decide to walk out that door, Greenwood should not have ownership to this name and this space because we built it. And so how do you, in your strategic plan, align to ensure that? And then as a community, some of us did not know that all of these year-long battles that you went through were ensuing in a way that made it palatable when we got some of these emails.
Yeah.
So strategic plan for us to understand what that alignment looks like and what makes it viable for you interested to be able to stay, number one. Number two, what is the clarity point that as things do change and adjust, because as we say, we're in a traumatic state. So as you come out of this traumatic state and start working through those tiers to unveil that, where's Shanti? To unveil that, how are you letting us know that, okay, first level met, second level met, we should start engaging more. The young lady whose membership is not here, she's not coming back in this 30 days. What are you telling her over the next 45 days to try to get her back in the next 60 days? What does that look like for us?
I work backwards again. We're not about to, we're going to get back to what has made the gathering spot what it is. We're going to do that and do it well, right? And over time, hopefully a short period of time, folks will see that and they'll engage back with us. The project, though, that we are focused on, that TK just very eloquently told you about, is we need to make this thing work, right? I appreciate your question, but I'm not in a space right now of trying to solve a project that this is a big enough project by itself.
Fair.
Right? So I'm trying to solve with our team and the broader organization the immediate question in front of us, and we have a common belief that this thing is important. So if and when we'll do the other stuff that you're talking about, but we're nowhere near that place. You will also hear directly from us, as you can hope you see, we are not afraid to go stand on the X and talk to this community. So if something's changing, I'll go stand on it again, and we'll go have this conversation as many times as the community wants to have it.
Fair.
So if you see a change, tell me to come stand on the thing, and we'll go do this again. So.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Don.
Tony, my question is surrounding one of the many emails that we've received, right, that included just like kind of vague line about compensation for the staff. So for context, my membership has had the longevity it's had because of like the Breeze, the Larks, the Kindles, the Russes, right? Yeah. To create an environment so that I could create professional relationships as well. So over the last week, I'm walking to the bathroom and I see people like breaking down, right? Because they're trying to figure out how they're gonna pay their bills. And as you said earlier, Ryan, right? Like if this all ended today, you got a couple of years. Like you're okay. So I did not cancel my membership because when we talk about protecting Blackness, right? It's important to me that we protect the most vulnerable. So I'm just wondering what more you can say outside of they'll be compensated. Like how do we know that those most vulnerable Black people that are also a part of this community are truly safe?
They're not just like a part of this community. They are the community. Like the whole thing can't happen without our team. And truthfully, if they weren't important to us, I mean, I speak somewhat on TK's behalf here. This is a very difficult thing to do, to be laid off from the company that you started and then come back. If the things that you're talking about weren't important to him and to us, we wouldn't do that. So we got to spend a lot of time with our team, right? And it actually has never really been just the money, right? If you have folks on the team, you know that you can't actually just like pay your way into having a good relationship. We're going to have to make this an environment that's meaningful. One of the things that we've always taken pride in here is that the folks that you named, Russ, that's 7 years deep here at TGS, right? Like that's we locked in. I'm absolutely here thinking about them. Like I said to you earlier, my 4 o'clock was with my team. 7 o'clock is with you. So I'm gonna keep being there at 4 o'clock. We're gonna keep having the conversation over and over again about the things that because I don't wanna be prescriptive here, right? The game has changed. So there may be some things that they need tomorrow that they didn't need yesterday. Our responsibility as leaders is to figure out how to meet those needs and do it quickly, right? Because they have choices. They don't have to work here with us.
I'm just saying, like, do they get a lump sum? Because I'm coming in when people aren't, so on purpose to tempt them, right? But I'm one person. I only got $20, you know? So, like, what does that look like for them?
We will not allow, right? Since if you know the history of TGS throughout time, we will not allow, to the extent that we can control it, right? I mean, the resources are what they are, our team to be impacted in a way, like the idea that someone's livelihood they feel like is in question, that's actually the most sacred responsibility that I have as leader. Like in the 7 years that we ran the payroll up in this thing, never was late on purpose. So we're going to have to make sure that folks understand that like we'll do whatever necessary to make sure that they're okay. And I don't want to sit here and give you stories and anecdotes, but just know that it's a core value that we have to make sure that our team is okay.
T. Lou.
Hey, what's up, Ryan, TK?
How you doing, boss?
I guess you got the quickest rehire in employment history, huh, TK?
We got to check with Guinness.
Haven't missed a check yet. But yeah, I just want to say I'm Tory Lewis, founding member since 2015. Back in the day when y'all was digging up the rocks and ran into that rail that postponed the start of the Gaza spot. For somebody that doesn't know a whole lot about fintech, finance, legal, entrepreneurship, but I do think I know a lot about people and relationships and the friendships. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I joined the Gathering Spot, because obviously I know our connections and relationship 4 years past. But what I remember is having my baby shower here, and Ryan, you was the bartender, I remember having numerous organizations, meetings and stuff like that, and invited about 50 to 100 members as part of the gathering spot here. So as somebody that's just a regular dude, an educator, and a high school basketball coach, when I leave this conversation tonight, what do I tell everybody about the next steps of the gathering spot?
That's a great question. I think what you and every other member should tell people about what happened tonight is that we are acknowledging and understand that the community is harmed. And we're in a period of learning and listening about what we need to do to prove that we are on the same value system and path that led people to join to begin with and makes them proud to tell people to join in the future. Like, we can't tell you to tell people a magical thing happened. We went through a very public and disappointing dispute for everyone to see. But what you can tell them is that Ryan and TK are back at the top of the ship and are fully committed to getting us back to the path that made you decide to become a member and have your baby shower here and proudly invite 50 to 100 of your friends to become members. And we're committed to doing that work day in and day out. And I think that's what I could think of.
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Appreciate it.
Hey, what's going on, Ryan? What's going on, TK? My name is Trey. I've been a member here for about 3 or 4 years. Met one of my biggest long-term clients here, produced Render for several years here. So my first question, I got a couple questions, but my first question is, if Greenwood fails, does TGS fail, right? Like, given all of the things that you've said about Greenwood, the ongoing litigation, like, aside from that, right, not even if y'all aren't aligned, but if just financially it fails or legally it fails, is TGS still able to stand on its own based on the merger and acquisition structure that was
been poured upon? Let's keep going, right? But I will challenge our community to think, again, back to this, we need to make sure that success happens here, right? For not for Ryan or TK, right? But like for us. We've talked about how we're building businesses here to come out on the other side of it and say, it didn't work. So I hear your question. I can't get there with it, right? As entrepreneurs, like we play to win, not to play to lose. We're playing to win right here. Like it has, like, genuinely, this endeavor collectively is not a story that can be a story of failure. We may need to get some work done on a lot of stuff we've discussed tonight, but like, let's do that work, right? Rather than to sit and say, or accept some foregone conclusion about what's going to happen with the company. We need to be successful collectively here. So,
Gotcha. And so, thank you. And so, to piggyback off of what someone else said earlier about like the value to us as members, I think just one small statement, like to pay, if you're over 30, to pay $200 a month, right? For some people, that's a struggle. For some people, it's not. But I think one of the most immediate lifts that we could all benefit from here is just better service. Like when you bring people, like we come here to do business, right? We come here to sign contracts, do deals, like real deals, right? And when you have to wait 30 minutes for water, like little stuff, it's just, you don't notice it till it's taking so long. It's like issue, and it's not a big restaurant. Like you can see everything from one place, and it'll be empty in here, and it'll still take forever. And so I know like the staff is kind of like tired and things like that, but like to pay $200 to walk in here to gather, like the service should be country club level. I know this isn't a country club, but it's our country club, right? And so, I think little things like that, we appreciate it. But my other question was, I heard you say a little bit ago, the gathering spot is co-operated by Black people or co-owned by, it's operated by Black people, but not owned by Black people, right? You said
I don't think you heard that from
he said the gathering spot is it's operated by Black people. He didn't say operated and owned by Black people.
Well, let me be very clear. The majority of this company is owned by Black folks. I don't want to cut you off.
No.
But like
owned, operated, led, managed.
No, that's the question. And so that's my other question is, right?
All the variations.
From I don't know what fintech is. I still don't get it. It's like NFTs to me, but it seems like like Greenwood is like a brand for another bank, right? Essentially like a black brand for another bank, as I understand it. So if they are essentially just a black brand and the app, I guess, for a bank, and it's still owned by a Coastal Community Credit Union
It's not owned by. This is a longer conversation, and we owe the community an explanation of fintech. But if you're familiar with Chime, like there's big like fintechs out there that are not owned by the bank that they may be partnered with. So that's the same example here. A lot of us know Chime and Vero and.
If you think about Cash App, when you send a transaction on Cash App, they have a receiving bank that's behind it that is sending the money and receiving the money on your behalf, and then that bank debits your personal bank account on the back end. That's why Cash App flips work, where you can like send $1,000 and cancel it, and then like you magically got $1,000. Like it's because they're using partner banks. So it's not the black face for a bank. Every fintech company has a sponsor bank, as they're called, where the deposits are held.
Gotcha.
If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, I think we definitely could probably, us non-finance tech people, could probably use a little explanation on
That's
like
fair.
what it means, because even as recently as like this morning, right, like the message that came out from you all, it still was like, we didn't mean to send this out. That was this morning. That was last night. Like
That was to say we didn't meet, like that was to say Ryan and TK, that last message before that said Ryan and TK didn't write that. The one that came this morning, Ryan and TK wrote that. The previous messages that said Ryan and TK.
But you see how many emails,
That's fair.
that's confusing, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of emails. Like there just has to be, like maybe a video statement would be better, right? Like there's just a lot. It's a lot of emails, and they're coming at like 1 in the morning, and it just feels
brother, like we respect your question, but that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's a mess. Like, and I don't mean to be grumpy about this, but like, yes, you're right. Like that's why we're here. It's why we're having this conversation. The communications have not been consistent. They haven't been in our voice. They haven't been in the way that TGS has communicated for the 3 or 4 years you've been a member here.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't address the part about the service piece. Absolutely, we agree with you.
Yeah.
We
can't put that. That has nothing to do with Greenwood.
I know. It's just
we got to do better.
That has nothing to do with Greenwood, and we do have to do better. That's fair. But like, we're here specifically because we know the communication is a mess. Has been over the last week, but like, you've been here for 3 or 4 years. You've gotten consistent comms from us. We'll get back to having consistent comms again. Until then, expect to see one of the two of us giving you a video message a lot more, which is something that happened here a lot too.
Cool. Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Welcome back.
Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Charmin, and they tried to cut me out this line, but I need to get this out. I'm usually here in the morning and in the evening on at least 3 of the 5 days a week that you guys have service. But my question is, as an operations person for 20-some odd plus years, what are you guys gonna do differently operationally? Because what I heard was, TK, that you was the chief financial officer and the chief operating officer, and as you guys grow, that's not sustainable. So internal to the gathering spot, have you guys thought of how you're gonna have a sustainable growth model versus, and are you in control of establishing that versus Greenwood giving you a model that you have to fit into?
Greenwood's not giving us a model that we have to fit into. We, as the business grows, we have to continue to think about how to meet the operational and any other challenge that the business has. We agree with you. TK actually was not wearing, I mean, if you know TGS in the beginning days, I was his bartender. And I was.
Well, that was the beginning though, right?
Yeah.
Which is, you have to do it, but you're not at the beginning anymore.
So in fairness to that point, we're not in that beginning, right? Like this business has grown from the 4 of us, to 200 of us. Correct. So, this business can always get better, y'all, but I can't sit here and say to you that we haven't evolved rapidly as a company. And I can certainly say that we understand the challenges that we experience them, the challenges that come with growth, and are prepared as a team to figure out how to meet those challenges, including having the right leadership structure and team set up in order to do whatever it is that we need to do.
Okay, have you guys looked into, and do you have someone helping you to get a growth model and or a change policy for one? That's guys just need a change
Yes.
policy. PR, basically.
So
Or-
we haven't like this week is not the best representation of our PR, right? But again, this is not an area of the business that, as the CEO, that I'm concerned about, right? That we won't be able to rectify. And just to say it plainly, there's $100 million in this thing. So there's a lot of people who are directly interested in making sure that we have a growth model. Like as a community, y'all, I appreciate these questions, but we've got to be I got to level set, right? When we get to the stage that we're in as a company collectively, you don't get there by just, happenstance. There's a lot of money and time invested in this thing. And so we absolutely have I got more advice. Which one do you want? I got more advisors around this thing than frankly, it feels like are necessary, right? But this isn't random what's happening here. Like we are a lot of people super interested in making sure, because of what this represents, that it doesn't fail, in addition to the investment. So, yeah,
Just as an individual member, I just want to make sure, because that's where I see companies either grow or fail, and it just needs to be in the conscious. And if I don't ask,
no doubt,
100%.
no doubt. I mean, we can't lose a game there.
Appreciate it.
Oh man, thank
That's
you.
very kind.
I look thirsty. All right, look, we've been here for 2 hours. I'm not cutting this off. I'm trying to make sure we didn't get to a lot of online
We
questions.
answered a lot of those through other people's questions.
Trying to make sure that we didn't miss anything that we didn't talk about. Talked about control. Talk about the organization structure. Keep going, please. Talked about the ownership structure of the company. We were notified via mail from TGS last week that CEO had been replaced. TK is here.
Yep.
Can you talk about the decision to sell the business? We talked about that. My question for 22 is not directly addressed. Will the Greenwood ownership have a conflict of interest since their ownership interest is publicly donated? It's not a question that I can answer respectfully. That's not something that I have awareness of. They're talking about political contributions. Paul and Ryan made public allegations against y'all. As TK said, I mean, yeah, that's something that we're working through. There were a lot of things said out in the public that we're working through. Question is, how can we guarantee Greenwood? We talked about a lot of these things. Security of our TGS data. That's a good question. All of the data at TGS resides here. With TGS, it's not being shared. You're not going to be solicited from any other entity. We've never sold your data anywhere else. And it's not something that we would ever do. Are you still the chief community officer of Greenwood? I believe so, Scooter. I think so. I know I'm the CEO of TGS. When do you push towards Green? Okay, we talked about that. What is the gathering spots exposure? Don't have a good answer there. I can tell you that our goal as a company is to operate in the manner that TK and I have always pursued this business in. Y'all can't see these questions. I'm just trying to summarize them. All right, I think we got to these. I think we got to most of the stuff. I'm sorry if I didn't. Let's follow up if I'm missing something here. All right, we've been here for 2 hours. Thank you. We appreciate you. This is not the last conversation we have.
Thank you, guys.
No. Get home safely. We promise that as this thing continues to move forward, we will absolutely do better than we did last week. This thing needs to be preserved, and we're going to work on it. See y'all soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.